Hello, and you're very, very welcome along to the Nutshell of the JMac podcast. Of course, I'm Drogman, and today I'm joined by former Galway footballer, Eddie Hoare. And of course, Eddie is a Fine Gael councillor for Galway City, and he is the director with the Hoare Chartered Accountants and St. Michael's GAA clubman, and as I said, former Galway player as well. So Eddie, of course, is a very, very busy man, and I'm delighted to have him on the show today. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by yourgarage.com. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on their glorious website. Mr. Eddie, how are you?
John, good to meet you now, and a pleasure to join the show.
Good stuff. And yes, we're the 4th of January. Obviously, you're the second man to come on the podcast this year, so it's obviously been it's been a great start and great to have you on. So how was Christmas for yourself?
A good Christmas, yeah. It was quiet in the main, but nice to get a break. Obviously, day to day, it's always quite busy during the year, so it's nice to get a break, catch up with family, some downtime, and catching up with friends. So, but albeit it's also nice to be back into a routine as well this week, and get this week over. We'll be back in business now next week.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose no one really knows what day it is or time. Just seems to be a bit of an illusion at the minute, Eddie. So we're probably just living in fairyland at the minute. But all good, thank God. I suppose how's work, and have you maybe enjoyed Christmas? Was it good to just get a bit of downtime?
Yeah, work's been busy. I came into this practice, Hoare Chartered Accountants, 4 years ago. It's a family practice, so it's grown over the last number of years. We've been in practice. Mary, my mother, would have been the principal for over 30 years. So yeah, it's very, very busy. A lot of providing lots of services for new companies, existing companies, SMEs, various different services, audit, tax and advisory. So yeah, it's an exciting space. The professional service industry here in the West is definitely very busy, which is a good complaint. Aside from work, then the politics is always busy, control various different queries, but something I'm very interested in and always have been, and delighted to have the opportunity to represent the people of Galway City Central.
Absolutely, yeah. So busy man, no doubt about it. I suppose obviously just maybe from I suppose we can touch on to the football end of things now in a few minutes, Eddie, but I suppose from the politic end of things, obviously you're a Fine Gael man yourself, so I suppose how busy is that for you? I suppose what maybe lit the fire within you to kind of get the ball rolling with all that?
Yeah, I always had an interest in politics myself. Historically, I suppose my father would have canvassed for a lot of Fine Gael candidates in County Galway from where he came from. There would have been a farming family, and Fine Gael historically would have been aligned and still are with agriculture and rural Ireland. My mother came from Castlebar, so her father again was interested in politics and was in school with Henry Kenny, who was also a TD and father of Enda Kenny, the former Taoiseach. So again, there was on both sides, there was always politics. It was definitely something that was regularly discussed. We always had interest in politics, and as it transitioned through college and secondary school and college, we started to canvass ourselves. Then formed circles of friends around politics. I know first canvassed for Pádraig McCormack, who's a long-serving TD. He was replaced then by Brian Walsh. We became very good friends with Brian. He served as mayor of Galway City in his first term as a councillor, and then represented Fine Gael as a TD for Galway West. And then there was Pádraig Keneally, twice serving mayor. We canvassed for him locally, and just look through that. We formed a circle of close friends through politics, and had a good interest in it. And the opportunity came up late in 2019 for me. At the time, it was expected that Pádraig Keneally, who was the serving councillor in the area for Fine Gael, would have run. He rang me. I was in Dublin at the time on an audit with my old firm DHKN, and I remember Pádraig rang me on the Tuesday and said, "There'll be news breaking on Friday. I'll be retiring from Galway City Council, and so we'll be looking for a candidate to run. This is breaking news, and you would be seen as the ideal candidate." In my eyes, I would have probably seen myself maybe as a candidate in 5 years' time when Pádraig would retire. But as it happened, he threw it upon me. Obviously, I had to discuss it with my girlfriend, Pam, my family at the time, and they were all very supportive, to be fair. And that was Tuesday. I remember I was on the Dart, on the Lewis, going back to my accommodation in Dublin. And by the following Friday, I was getting photos taken for the election, which is mad turnaround. But such is politics. It was a quick 6-week campaign. I was blessed, to have the support, like I said, of my wife now, Pam, my family, and the St. Michael's circle. The sporting circle was massive for me in my politics. Because politics, sport, community, they all go hand in hand. and we had droves of my friends, support club colleagues, and people within the community, in the Fine Gael community, that really went out to support me, because it was a quick campaign. I think it was 6, maybe 8 weeks. So it was a quick turnaround in a way, which was good. I didn't have much time to think about it. We put out a fairly positive message. Obviously, I stand strongly for sport, for community facilities, always have and always will. And that message was well received by the public. Obviously, I was young, new candidate. That was well received. And to be fair to the people, the electorate, they put their faith in me, they trusted me, and hopefully, look, 3.5 years in, I'm still very much enjoying it. Enjoy the day-to-day rigors of it. No day is the same in politics. A lot of challenges, but lots of opportunities too, and I enjoy it. So that's effectively my history in coming into politics. Look, an election will be coming up in 18 months' time, so you're probably judged on election to election, and I'm just hoping in 18 months' time that I can build on the vote that I got 3.5 years ago, and will be an endorsement of the work I have done to date.
Absolutely. And I suppose how do you mix all that, obviously, like the business of like the accountancy world, and obviously mixing the politics, and also being heavily involved with your GAA club and everything goes with that, and obviously family life too, Eddie. So how did you get a minute yourself?
Yeah, look, it's just a balancing act. You just have to manage your time well, and when you're at something, you're at it, and you're not try to, I suppose, time management is key. To be fair, coming from inter-county footballing background, you have to manage your time well, and I was blessed in a way that I trained, did my 3 years accountancy training with DHKN, who would be one of the bigger firms here in Galway, and I did 3 years training and 5 years post-qualified. As nearly 8 years at DHKN. They were very good to me in terms of time, allowed me to mix work and sport, and I think that in a way, managing your time well. So my history, as I said, in sport, I was always busy. I would have always had a busy schedule, and I was able to manage it in that regard. Now, here in the accountancy practice, self-employed in the family business, gives me that bit of flexibility, that luxury to be able to come and go and dip in and out at my leisure. But like I said, it is busy. It's a balancing act between work here in the practice, between the day-to-day politics, and then, like you said, family life. And also, I know I'm 35 and getting a little bit older, but trying to keep the club football scene going for another year or two as well. So I think that's important too, to keep I'll definitely keep playing as long as the body allows. Touch wood and fingers crossed, I will be able to weave a very good young up-and-coming team in St. Michael's, where probably see ourselves as a top 8, top 4 side, and with a view to breaking into the top 2 in the next few years. And as long as the body keeps going, I'm more than willing and hoping to be able to be part of that journey.
Brilliant stuff. Mine will do what the body allows it to do. So I suppose we'll great to see it. And in fairness, in the GAA, like there seems to be maybe a lot of lads that's kind of playing into the depths. And it's only maybe having this discussion with a chap the other day, like and when people say you get to the likes of 30 or even hit 30, like, oh, you're done, you're retired. So I think people, like lads, should maybe give themselves a lot more credit, for withstanding the demands of football. But it's funny, in human terms, 30 plus is, very young, like in human terms, but in football terms, you're retired, you're done. It's crazy, Eddie, in a way, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Look, as you said, in human terms, it's relatively young. Look, I keep myself fairly fit. I would have played at a high level for a long time, so I'm able to manage my body. But yeah, I think the split season lends itself better to older players, because you're not playing as much football in the heavier conditions. We play our league games, run them off over the spring, and then actually get to play football in the summer, which is great. So it's a quick condensed season, which I think suits older players. I think it suits all club players, because there was periods when we played at club level where you could have a first round of a championship in the first 2 weeks of May, and you'd have another one maybe the first week in June, and you wouldn't see championship football again for September. So that continuity, I think, is important. And I think the players, definitely from my personal perspective and from liaising with my own club mates and others around the county and country, I think it is working very, very well from a club perspective, at least.
Definitely, Eddie. Definitely. I suppose we can touch on to Galway's 2022 campaign, Eddie. I suppose All Ireland finalists against Kerry. Obviously, Kerry coming out on top in probably the final few moments of the game. So it was such a close final, such a good game of football. David Clifford defeats Shane Walsh. Remarkable stuff, Eddie. But I suppose overall, I know it is 2023 now. But I suppose how would you reflect on Galway's 2022 campaign?
Yeah, you'd have to reflect positively. I was involved myself with Galway FM, so covered a lot of the games right throughout the Connacht FBD League, through the league and into the championship. And it was a really, in a way, it was a big season for Pádraig Joyce, because Pádraig came in. He had obviously a legend as a footballer, had a big reputation at the under-20s, and brought Galway, I think, to an All-Ireland final, and was very well regarded. And it was quite unlucky because they started really well. I think in Division 1 they were flying it, and then COVID hit, and then they were very unlucky to get relegated. I think a late score against Monaghan, and they went down to Division 2. So COVID really interrupted the momentum that he had built in the early parts of his regime. 2 years would pass, and obviously coming into his third year, probably his final official third year in his term, but there was pressure on Pádraig, there was pressure on his management team, there was pressure on the players. He, to be fair, he brought new fresh impetus. He brought Cian O'Neill in. He's obviously brought a big impact to the setup. But Pádraig himself he's a winner, and I think the first interview we had, he said he wouldn't be happy but to win an All-Ireland during his term, and that speaks volumes for Pádraig. Like, be it at club, at county, at international level, Pádraig has been a winner and always has been. And to be fair, they came in and they tackled the FBD League, and they treated, I'd say, like a serious league last year. They were in Division 2. I'm sure their priority was to get promoted to Division 1, which they did. They achieved. Obviously, they would have been disappointed losing the league final to a late goal to Roscommon, but look, they didn't let that deter them. They knew that they had bigger business to take care of against Mayo in a few weeks from there, and they did. To be fair, they went and took on Mayo, and it was a really good performance to beat them, and then obviously beating Roscommon in the Connacht final. So they went from strength to strength, and from there, probably the game of the season would have been the Galway Armagh game, and they showed real steely resolve there in that game. In times, Galway might have lost that game. The row at the end might have stemmed their momentum, but it didn't affect them. It drew more out of them. Their captain was sent off. He was absent from the extra time period. Sean Kelly, massive loss, but it didn't deter them, and they stood up. And to be fair, and kept their nerve in the penalty shootout, and then same again against Jerry in the semi-final. Shane Walsh had been outstanding all year. Sean Kelly difference, but Damien Comer really stepped up there when they needed him and showed his experience when needed most, and obviously ultimately got to the All-Ireland final and went toe to toe with Kerry for long periods, which some would say is one of the best Kerry teams around in recent generations, at least. And they went toe to toe with them, and bar maybe a very unfortunate, I think, harsh call on John Daly in the Cusack stand side. They were well in that game, but from 2022, I'm sure they'll be looking now at higher expectations for 2023. They're in Division 1 league. I would expect he'll try and use the FUD this year as a way to bed in some new players. Division 1 will require more depth in the squad. He'll need that. Pádraig will be aware of that, and then to try and transition the Mike Holland and more players, maybe Clifton, back into his squad if needed, and that's the balancing act that he needs, to have the depth in the squad to be able to withstand the pressures of Division 1 from the outset of the season. Last year he had the luxury of maybe easing into Division 2, and you don't get tested as early, and you have a chance to build I suppose your preferred 15, whereas this year Division 1, it's where you want to be, and he wants to stay, and I'm sure they'll want to be competitive there. So that's my thinking on it, and they will use the league, as every game will be competitive there, and Connacht Championship and the new format will be different this year, but still Connacht Championship still there to be won, and they'll want to win it.
Yeah, look, I suppose, obviously the likes of Galway getting to an All-Ireland final last year and successfully getting there, and obviously winning a Connacht title, it kind of does show that the football championship, like the teams, there is a bit of a chasing pack now. Dublin dominated things for so long, so obviously Galway getting to a final, Eddie, it really is good stuff. It changes things up, it makes it exciting for fans. So obviously, looking back last year, it was great for Galway football to get to an All-Ireland final. The razzmatazz is back within the county. Pádraig Joyce, the manager, Shane Walsh, the fanfare around him, Damien Comer. So Galway football it's in a great place to be, Eddie.
Galway football is, yeah, it's in a really good place, and people want to be involved. I often remark, like when we grew up, like 98, 2001, like they were legends to us, like, and all we wanted to do was play football, and that's been straight about it. I'd say I broke the cassette player watching A Year Till Sunday because we just were obsessed with it, and that's what it brings. You would have seen then maybe Galway football had maybe a little bit more of a barren spell then for a period. The likes of Connacht Rugby took on integrated quite heavily into the Galway City, and you could see a fanfare surrounding that. Then obviously the hurlers won the All-Ireland in 2017, and there was probably more interest in that. But to be fair, the footballers under Pádraig have come back, and there really is an excitement around the current group, and you can see it because every player that's involved in the club scene want to play for Galway now, and it wasn't always the case. Like you see Ian Burkey's back, and he wants to be there because he's not going back to enjoy the winter training. He's gone back he thinks they could potentially win in All-Ireland, and that's what Pádraig has brought. He brought that excitement, that enthusiasm, and look, they're not too far off. You said the chasing pack, they're very much in that pack of maybe 5, pack of 6, and I wouldn't say there's anyone outside of that. Like I think there's 5 or 6 teams on any given day that could beat each other, so it makes for a very, very exciting championship.
I suppose overall, Eddie, obviously it was a very exciting Connacht championship last year. Obviously the likes of Mayo, Galway, Roscommon kind of really hitting form these days, and like top teams. So I suppose even to kind of come out top in the Connacht championship, and obviously we all remember Shane Walsh's dancing feet in the final, an unbelievable goal. Like the Connacht championship as a whole, good league campaign as well. So like overall, it was a great year for Galway.
No, it definitely was. As I said from the outset, I'd expect that they actually took the Connacht League quite seriously. They went out and won that, and they went in with, I'm sure their objective was to get promoted in Division 1. They did that. Winning the final would have been a bonus. They didn't dwell on it, the last, but their ultimate objective would have been to be promoted and then to go on and win the Connacht final, which was important because they wanted to go through the direct route, and that's what they did, and ultimately ended up in a quarter final. Yeah, so 2022 was a really positive year for Galway. There's a good buzz surrounding it, I'd expect. And look, having spoken with the likes of Paul Burns, Paul Bellew, they're very enthused in terms of the uptake in season tickets, and you can see it around. They're being well advertised, and I'd say there's a good uptake, there's a good buzz. One of the big things about a season ticket is that you get access to an All-Ireland ticket. If the team isn't going to be, if the team isn't going to be near an All-Ireland, that selling point is effectively null and void. It's there now because Galway can get to an All-Ireland, and the supporters expect them to, and if they do, they want to have a ticket. So it bodes well. Good financial place, Galway GAA. Obviously over the last, let's say, decade, there was question marks and there was different clouds over that, but I think that's definitely the finances of Galway GAA are in a really, really good place as well. I think that'd be acknowledged from the financial statements that were issued at Congress before Christmas. So again, that's another positive story, and one that I think brings positive vibes to the county and to GAA and the county as a whole.
The All-Ireland series, Eddie, obviously the quarter-final against Galway, the quarter-final against Armagh, like an unbelievable game of football. It had the controversy, it had like the quality of football, the semi-final against Derry, the All-Ireland final against Kerry, Eddie. So look, we can always remember that quarter-final. Like I suppose everyone can remember maybe for the bad parts, but it was a sensational game of football for all the bad commentary that they have about it. I suppose, your take on the Armagh game.
Yeah, no, I was up there in Croke Park commentating on it, and it was like probably I went up with a clubmate of mine, Frank Daly, that day, and we both said like that was probably the best day ever in Croke Park in terms of pure atmosphere, excitement. The game, like Kerry were playing Mayo after, and I went down to watch a small bit of it, but you couldn't hardly concentrate on it because such was the excitement of the game before. And if going up, you would have expected that the Kerry Mayo game would have been the main one, but it was really exciting. It literally had everything. It had red cards, yellow cards, it had goals, points, fouls, brawls, penalties even. Like it was a really good game of football. And to be fair to Armagh, they were very unlucky to come out the wrong side of it, but Armagh haven't gone away either, and I expect they'll be chomping at the bit this year under Kieran McGeaney again for, I'd say, he's definitely probably one of the longest serving managers at the moment, maybe bar Colm Collins, but they'll be chomping at the bit to try and maybe win an Ulster title and have a big say in the All-Ireland series. But a really, really exciting game. And Galway probably knew they were in a good place then. I'm not sure. I think the draw had been actually done beforehand, so they knew that they were going to play the winners of Derry's contest. So I know that had been on the day before, so they knew probably a good chance of getting to an All-Ireland final. So such was the excitement and the celebrations. And to be fair to the 4 Galway lads, they kept their nerve in the penalty shootout, and ultimately I think Matthew Tierney got the winning goal. But it was a tough way for anyone to lose, but a really exciting way for them to win.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk and speculation about them last while, but I suppose kind of like the media talk after that game, and the fracas, the fight, covered a lot of it. And I suppose the quality of football in that game was superb at that time. I suppose maybe Eddie, does that kind of summarise maybe where we are maybe as a nation? I know some of the stuff that went on was very unsavoury, but does that, the media attention and the hype around that, does that summarise maybe where we are as a nation, kind of dwelling on all the nonsense that went on, and we nearly forgot about how good of a game it was? Shane Walsh's points, Damien Comer's points, Ray O'Neill's kick. It's if you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, I saw a lot being said about it in terms over the Christmas. Actually, I read a few articles where they said that the Sunday game emphasised and focused nearly solely on the brawl rather than the actual how good the game was. And yeah, look, media is there to in a way, the way media's gone in the competition, be it online or otherwise, they have to, I suppose, they're trying to sell to an audience ultimately, and I don't know, like the footballers are going to watch it, but it's just that's something that everyone will be interested in, and sensational in terms of like headlines and grabs it, and maybe that gets the talking points, and maybe more talking than it deserves, and takes from maybe the good parts, like you said, the Shane Walsh scores, the goals that were in at the penalties, all that, and definitely is an issue. But look, I think media in the main, be it politics or sport or that, generally it's the sensational headline that media are looking for, and they're looking for, be it online, they're looking for clicks, be it on air, they're looking for viewers, so and which translates to online videos again, and that's generally what the population are looking for. And I'd say a lot of the companies are managed and rated or get their advertising revenues through hits and through views, and that's what a lot of the people are looking for at the moment, unfortunately, in a way, but that's the way things have gone media-wise.
Semi-final against Derry, Eddie, like it probably wasn't a game for the ages, but I think if looking back, the goal people didn't care at the end result. It was just, it looked unreal, and it's nearly good to kind of have a good Galway team back. Obviously 98 it brings to mind the great team it was back then, but it's good to, like, there's so many. Galway were always blessed with unbelievable players, unbelievable forwards like the Pork Joyce, the Walshes, the Comers. So like, the scenes when he's won the semi-final was terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. Galway always, like, I'm sure I'm biased, but everyone, the neutral, always says that they love the style that Galway play, and Pork Joyce is definitely bringing that in terms of the attack and fluency. The semi-final I missed myself because I had a wedding. Another clubmate of mine, Michael Hoare, and Noel Cummins were getting married. So when the speeches were going on, the games were on the phones. But again, it was at half time. It was like, I think 3 points all, and then obviously Galway got the point. Then the ruled one out was actually allowed then, and they went in just the second half ahead. But it didn't look great for a while for Galway. But Damien Comer, the 2 goals, and looking from the TV screen, the scenes there of pure euphoria, like 2001, so it was 21 years, is a long time for a proud footballing county like Galway. Like so many, and I said it in the commentary, I know, in the All-Ireland final, like so many great players went through the ranks. You look the likes of Michael Meehan, won everything but never got to an All-Ireland final. He's a man, like, you think that definitely deserved to represent his county in an All-Ireland final, and he didn't get the chance. And these guys on that day knew that they had that opportunity, and much deserved. They were the better team against Derry, and I think Rory Gallagher and the Derry people would acknowledge that, to be fair.
Yeah, and then obviously the final itself, Eddie, against the mighty Kerry team you're kind of talking about. We all know the powers and strengths of David Clifford at the minute. He's a one-man beat machine. But look, the All-Ireland final, the occasion itself, Eddie, Galway were back in the promised land. Like an unbelievable game itself, and just coming up short. But really, like, that's where you want to be, playing Croke Park on days like that.
Definitely, it's the pinnacle for any player. Like, I was lucky enough to wear the Galway jersey at senior level, and obviously you represent your club, your family, but you want to play on the biggest stage. Unfortunately, I didn't get that opportunity like others, but even looking at it from the press box and in Croke Park, it was just unbelievable. Just looking at the maroon and white, the green and gold on the Hill 16, it's just even I remember the hurling final. I remember when Galway won it in 17. The scenes and the Galway music player, and afterwards, it's just unbelievable. It's where you want to be. And in fairness, for them 2 hours, it's prime time. It's the country, I'd say, stands still, and everyone looks at that occasion. And that's where any sporting player aspires to be and wants to be. And to be fair to Kerry and to be fair to Galway, they put on one hell of a spectacle for both their counties and for the neutrals.
And I suppose maybe how disappointed were you disappointed with like obviously losing All Ireland final, but like what was your kind of thoughts coming away from the All Ireland final? Because like look, he's were so close. Shane Walsh at times looked like he was going to try win it by himself, but I suppose were you disappointed coming away from it?
I said the word I'd use, like you'd be probably proud of Galway. Like they went to an All Ireland final against probably, as I said, Kerry team that are blessed with so much underage talent there and come through under Jack O'Connor. And like a lot of people would have written Galway off saying they're nowhere near the pitch of where Kerry are at. Kerry are Division 1 team, etc., etc. But Galway were outstanding. They went toe to toe with them, and in true Galway tradition, they didn't let the occasion get to them, and they turned up and were very, very unlucky to kick a ball away from losing. I think it was 4 points in the end, but it was a fantastic game, a fantastic spectacle, and the biggest thing, I suppose, like I said, you'd be proud being a Galway man, even though I'm sure the players, the management, everyone was devastated. There's a realism there that like we were a Division 2 team last year, promoted to Division 1. I think it was a good call, giving Pádraig an extension to his term, because that team is building, and I think within that 3-year period, you'd like to think that Galway could be on the other side of an All Ireland final in Croke Park, and fingers crossed there will be.
Yeah, because this was obviously the talk in 2020 before COVID hit in, and this is what always people say: Galway were absolutely fine until the COVID hit in, and then maybe there was a bit of a dip after that. And I suppose, Eddie, like, do you feel maybe, I know obviously it is an unbelievable Kerry team, but do you maybe feel like a lot of the commentary and talk about it is maybe it was a missed chance for Galway, or like will they get a better chance again? But I know hope does spring eternal. God knows what this year could bring, and you just get back to the promised land once again. But is there a bit of a hint of missed opportunity, or do you genuinely feel you can get back to that holy grail?
Yeah, look, when the opportunity comes, you'd like to grab it and take it. You're not in All Ireland every day, like, and not every year either. So you want to take the opportunity when it comes. But yeah, I'm sure the players in a way will be sort of saying that it was a great opportunity. They were right in it, as I said, up until a controversial decision probably went against Galway. But look, I would think that the group, the management, the players, even the supporters would take a lot of confidence from it. The media would have suggested that Kerry were out on their own, and as I mentioned there in my last remark, like they would have taken a lot of confidence, I'd expect, from it, and know that they can go toe to toe. Like a lot of those players played against a very fancy UL team with David Clifford and the Sigerson earlier last year, and they went out and bet them as well. They would have taken a lot of confidence from that. So I'd expect that, look, when Galway do come up against Kerry again, which they will, because I did put them up there in the top 2 or 3 teams in the country, they'll have taken a lot of confidence from it, and will know that with extra artillery and an extra few players that come back, be it Peter Cook, be it Ian Burke, be it other lads coming up through the ranks, I think they have a good chance. Like you look under 20s, like I know in our own club, Conal Gallagher, I think he'll be breaking into the 20s. He'll be breaking into the seniors. You have the likes of James McLaughlin, he's my Cullen, I think he'll be breaking in. I mentioned Peter Cook there as well, Ian Burke coming back. So there's any amount of young talent coming up through the ranks. I know there's a young guy in Barn as well, Keane Hernan, was unfortunate with injuries. He's a really good player coming up through the ranks. John Maher is back in the squad. Happy to see that, because I think he's a good player, and it'd be interesting to see how he goes in the FBD League in his second sort of coming in the Galway setup. So, and that's together with all the unreal talent that's there. Then also Alan Glynn, another club mate of mine, his minors will be coming through. Donald O'Flaherty, his under 20s will be coming through. So like Galway football's in a good place, and I think a lot of those guys won't be winning their minor medal to win a minor medal. They'll be looking to knock on Pádraig Joyce's door and try and win in All Ireland at senior level too. So it's in a good place, I think, a good place for Galway.
Great to see, Eddie. I suppose I have to ask you about, you could probably dedicate a podcast to the talent and prowess of Shane Walsh, Eddie. He's just a remarkable player, and the stuff he was doing in that All Ireland final was just obscene, really. I suppose pay tribute to that man.
Yeah, it's very difficult to, as you said, like you could spend a full podcast on Shane. Like I'd be good. mate of Shane's from playing with him before, like, and like he's top guy in terms of like in football means so much to him. You'd often be on journeys to games or rooming with Shane, like, and it's all football. He loves it, like from his Jarlath days. Like he could nearly kick every ball from his Jarlath days, from when he came on with a hamstring and kicked 5 points to beat Summerhill in a like, and he literally goes through it blow for blow, and it just signs of the guy. Like he loves the game, and that's why, look, going back, a lot of commentary would have made in relation to his move, and like Shane has like given a lot to Kilkerran and Clonberne. He will give a lot more to them.
I was going to ask you about the transfer. Yeah.
And he'll be back for Kilkerran and Clonberne at this moment in time. I'm sure, look, logistically it suits him to play for Kilmacud Crokes, and it's purely football reasons as well. Like he wants his body to be in the best shape possible for Galway, so he won't be up and down. The split season allows him to do that, and he's been outstanding with Kilmacud Crokes, and a big cog in their wheel with Paul Mannion's absence. And I've no doubt he'll be back for Kilkerran Clonberne again, because I know the grow he has for his club. I think his sister plays with the girls, or had played with the girls, and his father Jerry and them, they're so heavily involved in the club. So I'm sure he'll be back with Kilkerran Clonberne again in a few years' time. But at this moment of time, I'm sure logistically and lifestyle wise it suits him to be in Dublin and the travel. And to be fair, like, he hasn't just gone and said, oh, I'll join Kilmacud, and he's actually gone and given it his all. You can see it. He's really embraced the whole Dublin Championship. He was probably the player of the Dublin Championship, player of the Leinster Championship, and again we'll see him on the big stage in Croke Park on Sunday. And I think everyone, and I'm sure all of Kilkerran Clonberne will be rooting for him on that day as well.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about, I suppose, the transfer and the media stuff around that. I suppose it like alludes to the point we were talking about earlier on about maybe the media, maybe getting very overhyped and talk and everything goes with it. Eddie, like with the transfer, what was your thoughts on maybe the media talk around Shane Walsh's transfer?
Yeah, look, it goes with the territory. Like, he's probably one of the best players, if not the best player in the country, and there is going to be speculation. But to be fair to Shane, he addressed everything that was asked of him. He was fairly straight up with it, I think, and it was put out there, and the transfer was put through. Obviously, it's going to create noise in the media, and there'll be various different opinions. And I'm sure it came as a disappointment to his club initially, but as they probably reflected and weighed up the bigger picture from where Shane was coming from, I'm sure they indeed sort of accept it. And like I said, long term, I'm sure Shane will be back, and young guys growing up in Kilkerran and Clonberne will be looking up to Shane Walsh. I'm sure he'll be out in the training fields with them in a few years' time. But yeah, look, again, he was in Dublin at the time. If it was a internal Galway transfer, it might have been a little bit different, and it might have created more noise. But look, it suited him at the time, and as I said, he's embraced it. He's got the most out of it. He's playing great football as well, and I think Galway football as a whole will benefit, because Shane Walsh will be coming in having played at a very, very high level over the course of the senior club championship, which will be good.
Yeah, he's absolutely fine with the guy, Eddie, and it's great to see and great to watch him. And I suppose, can I just touch on it yourself? And obviously you played for Galway for a number of years, Eddie. I suppose looking at commentating on games, analysing the game. So like, how much have you missed it?
Yeah, you definitely miss it. Like Croke Park, All Ireland final day, it's a pinch me moment that you'd love to be out there behind the R10 boys band. That's what you dream of, But look, I played with Galway from 2008 to 2016, won 2 Connacht senior titles, and like on and off with different periods of injuries. But like, you'd say, how did you give the commitment that you gave, like with your work, doing your exams, college studies and all that? But you wouldn't give back a minute of it, because like it's what you do. You're so proud. It's for your club, for your family, for your parish. And as I said, it's nearly full time. It's getting, I'd say now, the club scene now is what it was is what inter-county was a few years ago. Like, there's such a demand. Like, I was lucky, like I said, I was working in Galway, but like, you could nearly say that you were training five nights a week and away most weekends. And anytime you weren't training, you were thinking of training. And anytime you're either on huddle or watching opponents or watching your last game and analysing it, or in the gym or watching what you ate and all that. But it's great to see where an amateur sport has gone. Like, it's effectively nearly a professional sport. Like, you see the guys now, a lot of teachers involved, a lot of students, and not so many labourers or like tradesmen anymore, because it's so demanding of your time. Any self-employed people, it's more difficult on them because, as I said, you're devoting 4, 5, 6 evenings a week to it. But like I said, people ask me, how did you do it? But I'd never give a minute of it back, because like so few people have the chance to do it, and when you do, you take it.
I obviously know like this form of Shane Walsh and Damien Comer really did lead Galway to that All-Ireland last year already. But do you feel you were maybe like close to getting to like the likes of a semis or finals, I suppose, when you were playing? Because I know obviously you did get your hands on a few Connacht titles. Like, do you feel you weren't far off?
At this moment in time, or
when you were playing?
Yeah, I suppose the best chance we had, I think, was in 2008. That was my first season. We got promoted that year from we won the intermediate championship with my club, St. Michael's. But we had a great year with Galway. We're unlucky we won the Connacht, bet Mayo. Pádraig Joyce got a goal in Castlebar. We bet Mayo, and the quarter-final we were just unlucky. We played Kerry in a quarter-final. They had lost to Cork, I think, in the Munster series, won their qualifier, and we got the bogey draw in Kerry in the quarter-final. That was a downpour in Croke Park. Michael Meehan kicked 10 points. I remember it was a Saturday evening. Joe Bergen came on, got a late goal. Michael Meehan was marking Mark O'Shea at the time, and Mark O'Shea was the outgoing footballer of the year, and he kicked 10 points. I don't know how he didn't get an all-star for it.
Yeah.
Like, it was a game performance for the ages. I remember it was under lights in Croke Park. It was just had everything. We had a really good chance that year. I thought if we got over that, we would have had a right good crack at Tyrone in the final. I know that was a set quarter final, but I think I'm not sure who the semi-final was, but Kerry lost Tyrone in the final. We'd actually beaten Tyrone in the league that year. It's actually my league debut. I remember in Pearse Stadium, Sean Kavanagh got a goal for Tyrone. Michael Meehan had scored for us, for Galway. But again, we were flying it in Division 1. It was a really good team, that, and we were writing it. I think Pádraig Joyce captained us. He was at 11. Michael Meehan was 14. Matthew Clancy, Joe Bergen, Barry Cullinan was there, Dermot Blake, Niall Coyne, Gareth Bradshaw. It's like real household names on that team. It was a great time to be involved with Galway. And we got some great trips away. FBT League back then, the winners used to play New York in the final, so we used to get it away. I remember we went away that winter as well to New York. So really good times. But that was probably the closest I think we came. I went away for a few years then. I actually dislocated both shoulders, so I unfortunately out for 2 seasons. Came back then with Tomás O'Flaherty for a season, and then Alan Mulholland came in for a 3-year period, Kevin Walsh for 5 years, and obviously Pádraig now. But there were great times to be involved. Then under Alan Mulholland, I think we got to a quarter final. We're just like we came right through the qualifiers and lost to Kerry in a quarter final. I think that was the closest we came in Alan's final year in 2014. Kevin came in there. Then I think I was with Kevin for 3 years, but I think the semi-final loss to Dublin, I think in 18, was probably the closest that group came. Then to again, like, Kevin put some really good structures in place defensively. It was a really good, like, we weren't far off that time. I remember the emphasis he used to put in too much on the pitch. He was really savvy in terms of like the structures, like tactically of body position where he should be. We used to do a lot of basketball training in the winters. That was Kevin's background with basketball, and obviously he's a 3-time All-Star and 2-time All-Ireland winner. Like, he had the football knowledge of it too. I remember it was like nearly the American football stuff, like for forming a defensive arc, and he really put great structure in place, and that allowed Pádraig Joyce then to build on it. And probably Pádraig transitioned that into a more offensive style, and in recent years has sort of gone back to the more defensive under Cian O'Neill, but while maintaining the offensive style. But they were really good times with Galway, like, and as I said, 10 years there or whatever, and you wouldn't take a minute of it back. Like, as I said, New York trips, I think we went on 2. We were in Portugal for training camps and all that, and while pretty much been treated like professional athletes, and that's what any sports person wants. And like that, on all those trips, you play the football, but you enjoy it too with your teammates, and it's great memories to have.
Yeah, Finian Hanley was telling me about the trips away, so he loved all them. He's a pundit for me this year, so
Finian and Sean Armstrong, like, again, mentioned Michael Meehan, like, he would have won an All-Ireland under 21 in 2005, I think, beating down in that famous game. Like Finian, Sean Armstrong would have won Club All-Irelands. Like, those guys, like Michael Meehan, a lot of those lads, even Kieran Fitzgerald, Damien Burke, Alan Burke, never got a chance to play in an All-Ireland final, and like they gave such service to our football. Gareth Bradshaw, another teammate of mine, like I don't like naming players because he leaves some players out, because there's so many there that literally give like weeks on weeks on weeks to go with football and never got the chance to play in an All-Ireland. But I'd say to a man, they'd all say they wouldn't take back a minute of it.
Yeah, Finian's definitely very passionate about it all. I suppose briefly have to talk to you about the Mayo rivalry, Eddie. It was just looked like unbelievable scenes, I suppose, watching on from afar. Like, and obviously great rivalry still is, and great games. Eddie, what was that like back in the day?
Yeah, Mayo and Galway is always such a special rivalry. We're so closely linked, and the great thing about Mayo and Galway is, like, in Galway here, there's so many people from Mayo working in Galway, and there's such a good rapport. And I know a clubmate of mine, and he does say, like, you know, we're best friends 364 days of the year, but when we're playing them in Tuam or in McHale Park, we're either have the maroon or the green and red on, and that's the way it is. Like, we've great respect for each other, in fairness, like off the pitch, but then you just want to win it and have that sort of bragging rights. And it goes back and dates back to the Purcell, Stockwell, all those guys who were living in Tuam, which is quite close to the border of Mayo and Milltown and that, and Milltown and Ballandine, and there's just that great sense of rivalry, but with the rivalry, great respect for each other as well, to be fair, you know. And in fairness to Mayo, like, the group of players that would have played through my era in Galway football, like, they deserved an All-Ireland. A lot of those players, Lee Keegan, Colin Boyle, Aidan O'Shea, these Killian O'Connor, like, a lot of those that get a lot to Mayo football and probably deserved an All-Ireland. But, you know, that bit of rivalry, you love it too, like, and you want to beat them when you're playing them, and be it minor, under 21, senior. And I know the Galway minors this year, like, having lost to Mayo twice in the year and beating them in an All-Ireland final, like, it's probably the best way to win an All-Ireland, like, beating your rivals in an All-Ireland final. And the beauty about the minor final was it was in Hyde Park. Fans were allowed to gather on the pitch, and it's a real feel of an old-fashioned GAA moment, you know, that. But like I said, great rivalry there. My own mother comes from Mayo. Her father would have played with Mayo. Her uncle won an All-Ireland in '36 at Mayo. So, like, we've good Mayo links and great respect there for Mayo football. But, like, I think when Mayo are going well, it's good for Galway football, and vice versa, and Roscommon too, like, because if Connacht football is in a good place now, that's where you want to be. And with Galway and Roscommon transitioning to Division 1 next year, it'll all bode well for Connacht, I think, and a good Connacht championship in 2023.
I suppose like with the All-Ireland final appearances that Mayo have had in the last couple of years, and just not getting over the line for love and money, I suppose, Eddie, like, I know obviously there is that rivalry with Galway Mayo, but, like, at times in them finals, I know the rivalry is obviously still going to be alive and fresh, but did you feel empathetic towards them when they just couldn't get over the line?
Yeah, like I said, in fairness, like, you'd be slagging it and you'd be over and back, but, like, you couldn't but feel sorry for Mayo at times. Like, I remember being probably at most of those games in 2OG at one stage, just different calamities. There was a red card, I remember, with Donny Vaughan at one stage. There was, like, 014 was a great chance. I think it was 2014 where Killian O'Connor and Aidan O'Shea clashed heads. Like, their two best players clashed heads. Kerry went on and won that All-Ireland. They bet them famously in the replay in Limerick. But two of their best players clashed. Two of their best players clashed heads. I think Kerry went on and bet Donegal in that final. But that was a great chance for Mayo to win an All-Ireland that year. Like, Dublin, they had so many great times, and probably unfortunate to come up against one of the best teams ever to play football. It was that Dublin team, to be fair. But, like, you see Lee Keegan retiring and all these guys, and it's a new generation of Mayo football. And I think they're building at the moment under their being Kevin McStay is coming in, but they are building again. And I'd say probably will be in the conversation, give it a year or two under the new regime.
Yeah, it's Lee Keegan. Is he, like, there is talk about Lee Keegan finished up, but I don't know, is it confirmed, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think some people have suggested that obviously Mullen is going to Australia. The Lee Keegan was contemplating. Now, I saw it being suggested that he had retired. Now, it hadn't been confirmed, but in the media. But others are saying that he's going to give it one last crack. So I'm sure if he does, he'll mind his body and he'll know better than anyone. He had a good club campaign with Westport and probably dust down after that and go again. But he might just give it one last crack. But there were suggestions that he was going to retire. Whether he does, he doesn't. He doesn't owe very little to Mayo, like he's given so much over the last 10 or 12 years in his tenure.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if McStay can incentivise him to stay on, because I think he'd be a big part of what Mayo want to do this year. But we'll wait and see. Eddie, I suppose to wrap up, Eddie, just kind of over the years on your playing days, you'll love me for asking this question. The toughest player you played against and the best player you played with?
Toughest player I played against, probably two. I'd say two, and it was I'd say I marked Tomás O'Shea down in Killarney. I was probably was marking him. He was wing back, I was wing forward, but I was chasing him for a lot of the game. And Kevin Cassidy as well. Really good player. Kevin Cassidy was class. To be fair, I was only young at the time, but really experienced to mark those two guys. And best players I played with, I'd say from a county perspective, probably Michael Meehan or Boric Joyce. I'd say they were two, like, you'd be proud to say that you played on the same team as those guys. From a club perspective, growing up then, like we had great success underage. Like we'd some great players, like we won a minor in 04. So again, I mentioned Alan Glynn. He's the current Galway minor manager. There would have been Greg Rogan. He captained that team. The likes of Frank Daly now. Those guys are good lads to have played with, and we've soldiered with them in the blue and white for years, and they're great memories too. The club ones are the big ones, like, and that without your club you'd never represent a county, and that's one thing that you'd always remember when you're playing for Galway. You're not representing Galway, your family, you're also representing your club, and you'd be very, very proud of those great days. And as I said, going into my older days with the club now, I'd be looking to try and give some inspiration, to some of the younger guys. Like I said, Conal Gallagher, we like I said, Gary Higgins, guys transitioning up through the ranks of under 20s, Dara O'Malley, and you just hope to see them fulfill their potential and try and give them few nuggets to allow them realise that potential over the coming years. So that's where I'm at now.
100%. It kind of leads me into the very last question. What kind of advice maybe would you give, like a lad trying to break onto a county team, even politics, or I suppose general life advice, suppose, kind of starting off, Eddie?
Yeah, I suppose just be true to yourself. If you want something, you have to work hard for it, and you have to put in the graft. You have to put in the hours, and believe in yourself is the big thing, really. You can doubt yourself. You can sort of say, am I good enough? Am I not? If you've done the training, if you're committed, if you know yourself that, like, you're in a good place. If you take shortcuts, you'll be found out. If you put in the hard yards, you'll get the rewards. And that's what I'd say to anyone, be it politics, be it work, be it sport. If you're going at it, go at it 100%. Don't take any shortcuts, and ultimately you'll achieve your goal. And if you don't achieve your goal, like not many people achieve their goal, at least you've given it everything, and it wasn't through a lack of trying. And that's, be it, as I said, through sport, politics, or otherwise. There's a lot of things you can control. There's things you can't control, but you can control your work rate, your desire, your commitment, and your attitude. And they're things I'd always try to instill in any young players that I'd be involved with, or anyone I'd be working with, those attributes.
Brilliant stuff. Eddie Hoare, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by orcarech.com. Use my code JMac podcast to get 15% off on the website. Eddie, the very best luck with your party, your political party, your work, and you're a busy man, so the very best luck with all.
Thanks, John. Come on, and we'll be in touch. All right, take care,
Eddie. Cheers, my man.